let us all do we can to build a better future. There's been a lot of people asking Kamala Harris, our vice president, to step up. I just want to remind everyone that Kamala Harris, being the vice president, when she first ran for that office, or ran for that office.
That's funny. That's a great. See, that's the Jimmy Dore humor.
There we go. There we go. Haha. No. When she was in the primary first in 2020, there was a lot of hype around her. There was a lot of people saying that she was going to become the nominee. Until Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her. And that's a fact. There's no debate about it. And you want to know why Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her? It's because really Kamala Harris didn't have a campaign at all. It was horribly mismanaged. Daniel, you did a story about how her campaign was hemorrhaging money. And when it came down to it, she was the first major candidate to drop out, and she's got 0 delegates. 0 delegates, but somehow became VP. So we have this article first. I just want to read a short excerpt from this. Vice President Harris, maybe you were elected for such a time as this, even though she was not elected. She was put in the position as VP. This is an article from Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II and Reverend Dr. Liz Theo Harris. These are part of the Poor People's Campaign, and I understand where they're coming from with this. But this story is going to evolve in a different way altogether. So first article is, in the biblical story of Queen Esther, a daughter of the exiled Hebrew people, rose to power in the society of her day. When the survival of her people became a political issue before the king, Queen Esther's uncle Mordecai, I hope I'm saying these names correctly, wrote on behalf of their marginalized community to suggest that God may have placed her in a position she was in for such a time as this. Queen Esther rose to challenge and risked her position to save her people. Vice President Kamala Harris, we write today in the spirit of our ancestor Mordecai, after much prayer. I hope I said that name correctly. I did not go to Bible study. And with great hope for you and for America's marginalized people, we believe you can continue to make history with powerful symbolism and historical substance as the Senate prepares to vote on the COVID-19 relief bill that must include a minimum wage increase for all workers. The $1.9 trillion stimulus bill has passed the House and is headed to the Senate with a wage increase that would lift 40% of African-American workers and 62 million poor and low-income Americans of every race. So I want to stop right there. Again, you could read the full article in its entirety, but I want to remind everyone who Kamala Harris is. Again, as a politician, she has a long career of basically listening to donors. And as her time as Attorney General in California, she laughed about, you know, threatening to put parents in jail should their kids miss school. She had numerous opportunities to basically help out the prisoners who were firefighters so they can have the opportunity and privilege of being firefighters themselves. Oh, yeah. But that only happened now in 2020 when Kamala Harris was no longer Attorney General. Also, she helped implement policies to keep convicted convicts behind bars even longer, and also withheld evidence of an innocent man who was on death row. It's not called life row. It's called death row. So, you know, again, Tulsi Gabbard brought that up, and that's what demolished Kamala Harris's campaign. But yet, I have a whole bunch of tweets to share with all of you. And again, this story is still developing, because I was telling Daniel, like, hey, look, I got all this stuff. And Daniel's like, Kit, you're going to have to just say it. And all of you are just going to have to look it for yourselves. Again, you can see the show notes below. But this has to deal with Cenk Uygur and these. I understand what he is saying. And I am, and again, repeating what me and Daniel have said about forced to vote. We stood with Jimmy Dore, and everyone else was forced to vote because it's something that is needed to happen. But at the same time, too, I do support this forced to vote for $15 minimum wage because I do believe in it. But look, I have to say this to all the people who were constantly smearing Jimmy Dore, Brianna Joy Gray, Kyle Kalinske, Nico House, The Convo Couch, Justin Jackson, everyone that was trying to talk down to them, talk down about that town hall. You know, it turns out that they were right the whole time. They were right. And yet those 15 progressive congressmen and women that were on the forced to vote petition did not acknowledge that town hall, did not acknowledge the protest for forced to vote, did not even participate, didn't even tweet about it. They were silent about it. And it kind of revealed who they were, because when it push came to shove, those 15 congressmen and women that were on the forced to vote petition who ran on Medicare for All said nothing. And now let's pull up this tweet. Do you see the disrespect? Hashtag KHive. They think Kamala Harris didn't mean it when she said she was in favor for $15 minimum wage. Prove them wrong. At vice president is presiding chair in Senate and has sole authority to put minimum wage in COVID relief bill. She can be the hero. Save us, Kamala. Sorry, I had to. Okay, let's get the next tweet. Again, this is rather disappointing. Let's pull up the next one.
It's also rather funny because, again, the big theme that we've been talking about is...
It's consistency.
We've been consistent on how we view these things, and now Cenk is starting to go, oh, I might be wrong on this one, or I think that Cenk's way what Cenk would frame this is,
well,
I'm being betrayed, I must change positions.
Well, there's more to this because again, so much has happened between now and when the show started. So I'm pretty sure following the advice of the parliamentarian was not a priority above hashtag Fight for 15 on Kamala Harris's campaign website. We really are trying to help. This alone could lock up potential 2024 or 2028 nomination for vice president. Hashtag save us, Kamala.
What a wonderful hashtag that will definitely bear fruit.
We got another one. Hold on, folks. It gets better. How to pass a minimum wage increase. Number 1, get someone to introduce it. Bernie Sanders promised to do that yesterday. Asking Bernie to fight. Big mistake. He has no backbone. Check 2. Ask Kamala Harris to use her authority to say it can be in the bill. Hashtag save us, Kamala. 3. The Manchin rule. Step 3 is for later. But right now, we need Vice President Kamala Harris.
I bet Cenk feels fantastic being put in a position where he has to force Kamala to say something.
Hold on, folks.
Winner.
And I'm seeing the live stream right now blow up. Again, everyone, hold on. Because this is just from yesterday. There's been numerous other tweets.
Like the story is literally developed even past us putting this together.
Yes, and I was talking to Daniel about this. How are we going to how are we going to present this?
We're going to have to yeah.
Okay. So again, further on, Cenk Uygur then goes on to state this. The idea that the parliamentarian is secretly in charge of the entire U.S. government is so silly that it's almost funny. What was she doing during the whole Trump administration? Is she the deep state? No. Hashtag parliamentarian is not in charge of anything. Kamala Harris is presiding officer. Save us, Kamala.
I think he just saw our show and basically copied nearly word for word what we said.
One other thing, too, before we pull up the next tweet, because, again, I got 2 updates for everyone that's listening. So, number 1, the parliamentarian is an unelected official. Kamala Harris, as Daniel pointed out, is an unelected official to herself in her own way. But remember, what did the Biden administration just say? What did Joe Biden say? That they're going to respect the parliamentarian's decision. Now, the parliamentarian, Elizabeth McDonough, is an advisory role, and she got into office in 2012. Daniel, hold on. I'm getting senile. Okay. Everyone, type in the comment section below. Who was president in 2012? I think I might know.
Let me think.
Friend Obama?
It was a guy, I think.
Obama. Me.
It's Obama.
Barack Obama. Barack Obama. 2012. 2012. Barack Obama. So yes, so parliamentarian was in charge during that time, or she was around. Elizabeth McDonough, again, non-elected official. But the idea that Cenk is saying, like, hey, Kamala, save us, Kamala. You're asking someone who has a career of not helping people at all. Just ask the parents in California when they were at risk of being put behind bars if their kid missed school. And also, how draconian is that? Because you don't know what a certain household, what their makeup is or what they have to do. You have a parent that's working 2 or 3 jobs and their kid misses school. That parent goes behind bars. What happens to that kid if they don't have any relatives or family members? I mean, what happens to them, Kamala? And you were laughing about it. What about all the prisoners that had their time in prison extended even further? What about all those heroic firefighter prisoners who didn't even have the opportunity to become firefighters?
The Treasury Secretary under Donald Trump that you allowed.
Steve, thank you, Daniel, because she could have prosecuted Steve Mnuchin, and she chose not to.
It just so happened that the only Democrat that Steve Mnuchin donated to this year in question was one Kamala Harris.
Now,
also, her parents don't seem to like her.
Yes, I remember that story where Kamala's father said, "Don't vote for my daughter." Oh, man.
I mean, she has everything covered. I'm not sure what more you could ask for.
And also, I'm seeing some people in the live stream chat also mentioned that, don't forget, the Democrats did run on our $2,000 stimulus check, which has now been limited again even further. But let's get this next tweet from Cenk. Presiding chair of the Senate has the sole authority to include minimum wage in coronavirus relief bill. That's Kamala Harris. So we're asking her to please hashtag save us, Kamala. Vice President says it's one of her top priorities. So we can do this. Ask her to be a hero. And in there's a link, a petition. Now, FaZe, you don't have to pull up that link. You don't have to show it. Well, you know, maybe you could if you can in that tweet. There you go. So yeah, this is a good update. So there is a petition by TYT. So far, it's got about 3,410 signatures.
A whole 3,000 signatures. That's
3,004. Yeah, Force the Vote had about 45K. Almost close to 50K, I think, I believe.
Man, TYT is really showing them they're in their powerhouse self and their ability to make change happen.
Well, there's more to this. Save us, Kamala. One of Kamala Harris's top priorities is to pass a $15 minimum wage. Yes. There's great news for the vice president. She has the power to include it in the COVID-19 relief bill. In her role as the presiding chair of the Senate, she has the sole authority to decide whether the minimum wage provision can be included in the bill as part of the process called reconciliation. So again, this is weak. This is very weak. And while I am wishing the progressives that were against Force the Vote when Jimmy Dore was doing it and so many others were calling for it, I wish you luck. But what does part 2 look like? Well, I guess we kind of got the answer from Cenk, because about a half hour ago, maybe an hour ago, Cenk Uygur went live on TYT. And he went on to say how he's basically going to be burning bridges.
Bridges that I think that he has all of a sudden realized he never really had any control over anyway.
Yes. So Cenk went on to say in the video, and again, you could, if you guys have the stomach for it, because I sat through it, and it's very interesting, but it sounds more like pleading and begging and not getting to the point.
It doesn't sound like Alpha Cenk.
No, it doesn't. At this point, it sounds kind of defeated because he's saying, well, I guess we got to burn the bridges. But then again, I can't help but think of that quote that Jimmy Dore said when one of the producers of TYT pulled him aside and said, hey, we got to be more centrist now. We got to be more pro-Democrat now. And the thing is, what did that cost you, Cenk? Because those 15 progressive men and women that are in the House are not responding to your demands of a $15 minimum wage increase. So what does Plan B look like? And even in the video, he says, do we give these progressives a second and third chance? He said yes. You got to sit down. You got to hold on. But it gets more than that. He said yes, give them a second and third chance, even though they're not going to fight for it.
Yeah.
And he said in the beginning of the video, they're not going to do it. If they're not going to do it, then Cenk, they got to go. We can't have politicians, we can't have leaders in office get accustomed to our vote and assuming that we're going to fall in line and vote for them no matter what. This is why we say in the show, you got to break away from the two-party system. And let's just say in a hypothetical scenario, maybe a little bit off subject, if Bernie Sanders were to run in 2024, I don't believe him.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if you're going to let the DNC screw you over not once but twice, show me you're going to fight. That goes for the 15 congressmen and women that were on the Force the Vote petition. That goes for Bernie Sanders. That goes for any progressive in the United States Senate and House. Show me you're going to fight, or you're not going to get my vote. To all the progressives that were browbeaten and to voting for Biden, this is what happens when you give up your power and you don't get anything back in return. Remember Bernie Sanders' fantastic task force? Remember that thing? Oh, yeah, that's right. Bernie didn't get anything. The Biden administration chose not to do anything. It was the Biden administration that got involved in that coronavirus relief package that Trump was passing, where we were going to get another stimulus check of $1,200, but it got cut down to $600. Don't forget that was Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who was supported by all 15 progressives in the House for her reelection for a Speaker of the House. She said the reason why I didn't want to do continuous stimulus checks was to hurt Trump.
Yeah.
That was her. That's Mama Bear, according to AOC. So the thing is, Cenk, I agree with your Force the Vote fight for $15 minimum wage. I do agree, and I support it. But I want to know what really Plan B looks like. And that doesn't mean giving these progressives a second and third chance. And what? All of a sudden we're afraid that what? Trump might run again? Of course he's going to run again. How do we know this? Because the first impeachment and the second impeachment were a big waste of time, just like Russiagate. And Trump has said it himself during that CPAC conference that he's going to run again in 2024. So the thing is, what does the plan look like? We have to look at other alternatives. I don't think we can reform the Democratic Party. In theory, it sounds good. but in practice, it has failed miserably. And to those 15 progressives in the House, you were supposed to fight to the end. Stand, show me you're going to fight. Otherwise, you're proving me correct in calling you guys the Washington Generals. Because at least I can say this, when the Washington Generals lose to the Harlem Globetrotters, that's what they're supposed to do. That's their job, to lose. As a politician, you're supposed to win. In a political party, you're supposed to try and outmaneuver your opponents. And yes, you have to have some bipartisan moments here and there. That's what you're supposed to do. But Cenk, this is like struggling. You're treading water. And how are we supposed to have confidence in outlets like TYT or other outlets that told everyone, hold your nose and vote for Biden? Kamala's not going to save us. Now, if she does, or we see something at the last minute tonight or something like that, we'll apologize tomorrow. We'll say, hey, oh, wow, they actually fought. Maybe we're putting pressure on them. But we have to do continuous holding their feet to the fire because they think they can get away with this. So I don't care if we burn bridges with these politicians. You want to know why? They're public servants. They work for us, not the other way around. We don't owe them a damn thing. They get to have benefits. They get to have health care. They get to have retirement plans. They get to have speaking fees. They get to live in nice houses. They get to live. They get to have a good life while the rest of us are out here struggling. Why do they deserve our respect and vote? Why do they deserve our praise? Work for us or get out of the way. That's how a democracy works. So you could tweet at them, save us. Start demanding crap. Start fighting back. That's why I don't vote Democrat, and that's sure as hell why I don't vote Republican. It's time to look at other alternatives. That's why I'm for Moving for People's Party. That's why I'm for Green Party. That's why I'm for Libertarians. That's why I'm for any independents that are going to run for office, because a two-party system has shown us time and time again that it is going to only work for its donors. We got to be better. And if this isn't a lesson to future progressives and commentators about getting involved in media, stand for something or don't stand for anything at all. Daniel is the final word.
Okay, so I have quite a bit to say on this. So first, let's start with Cenk and what he's been doing. It's been fun to watch him try to play both sides of the audience for the last few years, ever since he really left the progressive movement and decided he's going to go in the hybrid Elizabeth Warren path of let's try and get both people at the same time, even though they're incompatible. So what does that mean? It means he's trying to say that, oh, he's still the home of progressives. It's Rebel HQ. He still does all that. He still covers the stories that sort of go along that, but he's also doing them in such a way that your Elizabeth Warren supporters, your Kamala Harris supporters also feel like they're being heard and spoken to. Of course, that's never going to last. He built an entire channel. He built a movement on being progressive and doing these progressive things, but he can't maintain that if he's now targeting and cherry picking for the establishment. So when Neera Tanden was running, and we covered how Cenk's like, oh wow, this is Neera Tanden, we gotta get her in. What are the chances that someone told him that she was going to be a surefire thing, and now he's being used as a patsy to temper the progressive movement, or what's left of it, watching his show, into thinking that it's a home run, you can't really do anything to stop it, everyone's on board. She's wonderful, even though, as he already pointed out, she's not. So now when we have this thing where Cenk is going, oh, Kamala, 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 save us. I can't think of how many times I've seen a cop in a protest attacking people, and then protesters go, please stop, please help this person that you knocked over, the back of their head's bleeding. They don't stop. They don't care. Cenk knows this because he's no longer in a position that he wants to be. Cenk wants to climb the ranks and become CNN, NBC, Fox, TYT. That's always been the goal he had. He tried to do that when he was on MSNBC, and it failed because he was just too out of their comfort zone to do that. He's come around a lot since then. He's just doing it through another perspective. So now we're at a point where all these bets that he has done have failed. He doesn't have the bargaining power. We just have he puts together a petition and tries to get people to sign it. 0.1% of his audience, a little less than that, has actually contributed to signing this deal. That's not good. That's not useful. That's not big at all. That's small. That's weak. And so now Cenk, where he would usually come from the point of view of, well, at least previously, he would keep his head high and say, I'm not going to bow to anyone. He's now begging Kamala to make a choice that he knows won't get made. And then on top of it, there was a moment, I don't know, maybe for a fight for Medicare for all, where there was a chance that this could have been pushed. Why? Because there's leverage. Nancy Pelosi's getting elected. Seems like a time to do something. And we said, hard lens, we're like, yeah, that seems like a reasonable thing to do. There's not going to be many more chances where it can be done. So let's try and do it. Where was Cenk on that issue? Oh, right. He flip-flopped immediately and went against us, went against you. If you're fighting for healthcare, by the way, Cenk has a good healthcare plan. He'll be okay. You probably don't. Cenk didn't care. It's, oh, not the time, not the place, not the right strategy, except now that he's trying to do the exact same thing with the fight for 15. And then he also says in this video, it's like, oh, if we don't do this, we're about to have years of losses. We're already on that, Cenk. I don't know why. I don't get why this is such a surprise that, oh my God, progressives aren't doing what we say. Yeah, we knew that. That was sort of why we're trying to force the vote. That's why we wanted a united progressive media narrative on this. But of course, Cenk didn't want to be there for it because personal reasons. He didn't like Jimmy being in charge of it because Jimmy's been saying mean things. So all the people that are dying because healthcare isn't accessible to them, well, they don't matter as much as the mean adjectives that Jimmy Dore throws your way. So Cenk is now begging that this all happens, even though he has no control anymore. He never really did, even though he probably thought he did. So this video that he posted, I saw a little bit of it. Kid showed it to me before. It's just funny to watch him double deal again, because it sounds in the video when he's talking about it where he's like, oh my God, I'm going to be burning all these bridges. Again, you never controlled the bridge to begin with. The bridge never exists. The bridges you're talking about are all parliamentarians, my friend. Yep. Let me just tell you that. First and foremost, that's very important to remember. And then finally, he's now trying to realign. That's what that video is. Cenk's gone, oh yeah, I'm going to make a lot of money going this direction. Oh no, I'm losing everything. Let's try and turn this ship back. Cenk, big ship. It's a little too late to turn. You're crashing into the rocks.
Yep. One other note I want to add to this is I actually did it's free on Rockfin. I normally don't promote too much about some of our content for our movie reviews, but our movie reviews on Rockfin are set for premium, except for this one, and that is I did a review of Mad as Hell, and I actually watched it 3 times. I know, why would I put myself to that punishment? Because I wanted to try and figure out what happened, and the sad fact is that the Cenk Uygur that was in that video is the same Cenk Uygur he's always been. Same thing as the video that we just recently watched. When you give up everything to become something or become associated with the establishment, know this, you give up all your power. And people pay attention. People remember. Social media is very petty, unfortunately. And, you know, when it comes down to not listening to people, not listening to your friends, give real constructive criticism, and then burning that bridge. Remember, people are not going to believe you anymore. And when the Democrats fail to deliver, their promises, why should we owe them anything? And more importantly, why should we give them a second and third chance? You said that in that video, Cenk.
Even on that, that's a very important part to bring up that you had already said.
Yeah.
Whereas when these guys keep lying to us, I think the reasonable progressives who like go, oh yeah, we'll just go by your track record. We don't force ourselves to believe that these people are good and honest and they just need a little push. We have said like a year ago, we don't like where AOC is going. She can try and win us back, but she has to act on it. We're not going to act for her.
Yeah.
TYT has done that. TYT has given her the point that she is right and she is just, and she's just trying and she's not succeeding.
Yeah.
When it was Bernie Sanders and his failure, TYT was like, he's being right and he is just and he is trying. And we said he just didn't have it in him. He wasn't doing it properly.
Yep.
And in this case, he is saying Kamala Harris is right and she is just and she is trying, when we know that's never been the case to begin with. I think it's a very important distinction to make.
Yep.
Is that, at least for us, I don't care about much except are you going to do the thing that you said you're going to do?
Yeah.
I don't care about if it's malicious or not. That's something I've learned in my life, is that I don't care whether someone accidentally does something or maliciously does something. I actually sometimes prefer if it's malicious.
Because at least it's up front.
Because that's the Republican Party. They do it maliciously and they know it. And the Democrats do it maliciously, but they have that nicer tone to them that isn't Trump and it isn't scary. And that's the only difference they had. Yeah. Because if they spoke the exact same way as their policies are, they wouldn't really sound any different from Republicans. So we have to remember, and especially with Cenk's realignment. That's why I'm calling it a realignment, even though it's in the exact same place. He's gone from we have people on the inside and we're doing it, Justice Democrats, to I'm burning bridges with people that he's in an organization he's already been kicked out of for a few years anyway. Yeah. He's just realigning himself, trying to go back to being a progressive when he's already gone and he's already left. And everything that he's doing is maintaining that. And maybe Cenk, if for the next 2-3 years, we see a real concerted effort, and we see you not in the next election or the next midterm say vote blue, no matter who. Maybe we'll go, we'll reassess it.
Yeah.
But you got to do a lot more burning of bridges, because let's be real, you're not burning bridges. You're just trying to go back to a different audience.